This great big story is made possible by Lexus. Experience amazing.
Mazes are one of the most fascinating things. Almost everybody, as soon as they can crawl, are always wanting to find out what's hidden, what's out of sight. My name's Adrian Fisher. I live in Dorset in England, and I create mazes and labyrinths all over the world. Well, I spent the first few years of my career in accountancy. There came a moment when I'd created a maze in my father's garden, and then I started building one and two more and so on. And then I suddenly realised this was going to be far more fulfilling if I spent my life creating mazes. This is the site of the place. This is 40 metres in diameter and the maze is going here. Over the years, I've created mazes in some 40 countries, and I guess I've built over 700 full-size mazes in the landscape. I think a maze design is a very esoteric art. You sketch out ideas and develop ideas on paper and drawings. But one of the exciting things is a maze is a network. Now, a maze is a special kind of network where I decide there's only one start point, I decide where the finish is, and I make sure that every single bit of it can be as confusing or as easy as I wish. I'm trying to make it as ingenious and tricky as possible, but in the end, I'm also an entertainer. I like to leave clues that help you solve it, and you feel so good about yourselves when you have beaten the maze designer. Like a good movie, you get to the end and you don't want it to stop. I'm appealing to some basic instinct in us all that want to be entertained and explore, and a maze is an ideal way of doing that. Its purpose is totally to one side of normal, sensible, practical things in life, but gives so much pleasure to so many millions.
All the machines in this arcade are homemade. There's something magical about all this. As a child, I found that making things that made people laugh was satisfying and seemed more point in doing that than making useful machines.
Take that!
I'm Tim Hunkin and I'm a cartoonist and engineer. I have two arcades, one on the coast on a pier and this one in central London called Novelty Automation. In total, I suppose I've made about 50 machines. Not many people have that as their ambition in life, but yeah, it suits me. This is Pet or Meat. You spin the wheel and you find if the lamb ends up sitting with you on the sofa or being carved for dinner. It was a hobby that got out of control. This is Auto Frisk. You stand in front here, the gloves inflate, and then they pat you down. Britain's got a great history of satire, and I suppose I'm not really particularly political myself, but I think it's healthy for little people to poke fun at the rich and powerful. You fly this little drone round this Beverly Hills mansion and see all the stars inside, and you're a paparazzi. You have to try and take the photos to fill up the cover of the magazine.
You're all under arrest.
I get my ideas from lots of places. It's partly things happening in my life, partly things happening in the news, and partly from old arcade machines and mechanisms. This is Test Your Nerve. You have to put your hand inside the cage with the mad dog for as long as you dare. To do something like this, you have to enjoy the process of making things. I spend most of my life solving conventional engineering problems rather than thinking up the jokes. This is the chiropodist. You have to take off your shoe for this one. You put your foot in the treatment bay down the bottom, and it feels really weird. Seeing people enjoying using the machines keeps me at it, and also because they take money, it provides the income to let me keep at it. So to me it's a pretty perfect system. It sure beats working.
Good morning, sir.
I've never planned my career or anything about my life. It's just occasionally a sort of opportunity comes up and then I go for it.
To be or not to be, that is the question whether it is noble in the mind to suffer those things and hours of our just fortune to consequence, to see of troubles and by posing in them, to die, to sleep pretends to dream. You get the idea.
The Micro Machine Man here, presenting the genuine, original, colossally flexible, most miniature replicas of the real things, Micro Machines.
A lot of people know me as the Micro Machine Man, or the FedEx guy, or Terrible Tester Birdie from Saved by the Bell, or just that guy who talks fast. In fact, I was in the Guinness Book as the world's fastest talker, and so, for the last 40 years, if you needed a fast talker, I was your go-to guy. Is that okay? Did you get everything you need? I mean, I can repeat it again if you want. You sure you don't want me to do it again? Because I can do it again. That's no problem. I'll just do another take for you because of what it's going to take. When I was 12 years old, I wanted to get into the Guinness Book of World Records. So I figured the only thing I could really do, since I wasn't going to eat a car or swallow lead pipe, was to lock myself in a room and teach myself fast talking. And I did that with the Hamlet soliloquy. To be or not to be, that is to be or not to be, that is to be or not to be, that is the question whether social no. Years later, I'm at this party, fancy California Beverly Hills party, and a friend of mine is trying to pick up this Valley girl. He's from New York and talking pretty quickly, and she looks at him and says, like, oh my gosh, are you like the world's fastest talker? And he says, no, as a matter of fact, this person is. They called me over and I did one of my little party routines. And a guy walked over and he says, that's incredible, I'm a producer and I'm going to put you on a show. I went on the show and I did the fast talking thinking that would be it. And all of a sudden the phone starts ringing, I'm booked all over the place and I managed to make a living out of it. I can speak as fast as 11 words a second. Now, I never do 11 words a second for TV. Well, let me do Peter Piper at 11 words a second. Peter Piper, and you kind of hear me going pub, 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 but that's really all you're kind of getting. But when you do TV, there's visual reinforcement. People see you and do whatever. So I do about 7 to 8 words a second. That would sound something like Peter Piper, Now on radio, I have to do it even a little slower because you have no visual reinforcement, you're not seeing me. So then I do about 5 to 6 words a second. So it sounds something like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickle peppers, a peck of pickle peppers did Peter Piper pick it. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickle peppers, was a peck of pickle peppers Peter Piper picked. And that's kind of the secret to my success, because if you can't understand what I'm saying, they're not gonna pay me the big bucks. Now, the very first commercial I did was the Federal Express commercial. It is, to this day, the most award-winning commercial in the history of advertising. The final scene, I'm sitting behind a desk, and I'm going, Dave, what's the deal? With the deal are we dealing? Dave, it's a deal with Don. If it's a deal with Doc. The deal, good. I'm putting you down to deal with Dick. Dick, what's the deal? So I did the thing like 29 times without making a mistake. And the director said to me, what are you, like a machine? You never make a mistake? I said, you want a mistake? I'll give you a mistake the next time. So I said, Dave, it's a dork with Dick, Don, and Duck. And that's the take he ended up putting in the commercial. It's a deal with Dave, Dick, and Dave. Don, it's a dork with Dick, Dave, and Duck. Don, it's a dork with Dick, Dave, and Duck. The first time I saw it, I called him and said, John, it's our little secret. Although I'm known as the world's fastest talker, I do not choose to live my entire life in the fast lane. Sometimes I just like to take it all a little slower. But sometimes it's really, really good to be fast.
This is Justin Schmidt.
Yeah, my name is Justin Schmidt.
He's an entomologist.
And I'm an entomologist. I basically study stinging insects.
He's been stung by a lot of insects.
I've probably been stung at least 1,000 times.
He reviews insect stings the way a sommelier reviews wine.
Pure, intense, brilliant pain, like walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail embedded in your heel.
Which insect was that?
That's the bullet ant.
This is his lab in Tucson. This is his harvester ant. This is his vinegaroon. This is his tarantula hawk. These are some more harvester ants in a park near his lab. He is the creator of the Schmidt pain scale.
The Schmidt pain scale is basically a scale to rate the painfulness of stinging insects on a scale of 1 to 4. A 1 would be a sweat bee. 2 would be something like a yellow jacket wasp. A 3 would be something like a harvester ant. And a 4 would be a tarantula hawk.
How bad is a 4?
4 is absolutely excruciatingly debilitating, incapacitating, just shuts you down, just absolute sheer pain. There's just nothing you can really do about that. I don't think I'd want to be stung by a whole bunch of different 4s. I don't think I could endure that for very long.
Let's be clear. Justin Schmidt doesn't just go out and get stung on purpose. It's just that he's dedicated his life to studying, well...
My passion is insects, and stinging insects in particular. Yeah, I get stung, but that's all just part of the passion. You know, that gives me data. You know, sting helps me in understanding what the insect's doing. And I get to be out in the sunshine and out in the rain, out in the environment, studying these magnificent, beautiful insects. It's just such a joy. I can't imagine anything I'd rather do more.